Welcome to Citizens Reunited to Overcome Cancer, a show to make your survivorship an easier journey by providing information and advocating for you. A show to help practitioners up their game and their level of performance. This is the Croc Podcast. Here is your host, Dr. E, and co-host, Angel Santana.
Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Tommy Anelli, founder and director of Citizens Reunited to Overcome Cancer. I am thrilled and humbled that you've joined us today on the podcast. I believe this podcast will uplift and inspire you. It's going to be a story about a very special patient. It's a story of hope. It's a story of courage. It's a story of trust. And it's a story that shows us that miracles do happen. And it is a true story. Angel, welcome to this amazing podcast.
Let me tell you, there's nothing better than being here today with you. I want to welcome everyone back from Citizens Reunited to Overcome Cancer. I want to remind each and every one of you that as your co-host and producer, this is not just a podcast, this is a movement. And together we're building a community of survivors, caregivers, doctors, and families, all united by hope and strength. So we encourage you to reach out to us on social media and get the conversation going. Let's share our stories, lift each other up, and continue to spread awareness. And don't forget, like, subscribe, and share the Croc Podcast with your family and friends, because the more we share, the stronger our movement grows. I know that Dr. E's ready. I'm ready. You know, I even got my son here in the corner. We're ready to go. Let's go for it.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, you mentioned about hope, and today's podcast is one of my favorite genres of podcasts, that is to tell a patient's story and to discuss miracles. And this is one of them. And it's a story about Joanne and her journey of hope. And the first thing we have to do is define what I believe, at least to me, what a medical miracle is. So when a survivor's outcome, number one, far exceeds the expectation of the statistics. Number two, far exceeds the expectation of the experience. And number three, far exceeds scientific explanation. And it comes to mind, we did a Christmas miracle story this past Christmas about the story of Mary, a survivor of two of the worst cancers you can get, anaplastic thyroid cancer and pancreatic cancer. And I would encourage you guys to re-listen to that or listen to it for the first time. We'll air that on Christmas week. It's such a wonderful story. And I believe today's story is going to be just as impactful. So Joanne is a lovely, lovely woman, patient, presented to us with stage 4 anal cancer with extensive local disease, meaning disease in the perineum, that tissue around the perianal area. Extensive nodal disease, so lymph node involvement with disease in the groin region and the pelvis, and metastatic disease as well, so disease that has spread outside of the primary area. When you Google stage 4 anal cancer, you come up with a couple of hits. The two that I thought were most striking were from MD Anderson and Memorial Sloan Kettering, which said that stage 4 anal cancer is treatable but not curable. So I just want to take a quick pause and go on a tangent because I believe that we need to do a couple of things when it comes to anal cancer. So it's a tangent to support all of our survivors who have anal cancer. And the reason why I want to do this is because anal cancer comes along, what I call anal cancer a disease of stigma and a disease of shame. So the stigma, let's define stigma. Stigma from Merriam-Webster is a set of negative and unfair beliefs that a society or group of people have about something. Whereas shame, we all know what shame is, but we've never kind of put it to words, but it's this uncomfortable or painful feeling due to recognition or a consciousness of our own impropriety or dishonor. So there's a woman that I admire very much, even in death. Her name is, she was probably the anal cancer advocate. Her name is Michelle Longabeau. And she recently, as I said, passed away from stage 4 anal cancer. She had a couple of profound things to say about anal cancer, about the stigma and about the shame. And a couple of stories come to mind that I read on her blogs. When she told people that she had cancer, they expressed sorrow. When she told people that she had stage 4 terminal anal cancer, she experienced pity. When she told people she had anal cancer, she got nothing but silence because no one knew what to say. So Michelle used her medical background as a nurse and her passion to change this perception of anal cancer from the stigma and shameful disease to acceptance and prevention. To her last breath, she was interviewed a week before her death, and she was still advocating for her anal cancer comrades. The two things that she would say all the time is the first question people either ask her or wanted to ask her is, how the hell did you get anal cancer? And number two is that the silence indicated that anal cancer is not a socially acceptable cancer. So her two contributions, to this disease site are prevention and early detection. So let's talk first of all about prevention. So cervical cancer is a cancer that should no longer be, because number one, pap smears, and number two is the HPV vaccine. So HPV, human papillomavirus, is a ubiquitous virus found all over the place. 80% of us, have been exposed to the human papillomavirus. And as it relates to anal cancer, there's approximately 9,000 cases per year in the United States. It's 2 times more common in women than it is in men, and it's very, very much on the rise in people over 50 years old. And basically, as I said, probably greater than 90% of anal cancer is HPV related, meaning it's a sexually transmitted virus. And 80% of sexually active people have been exposed to HPV. So basically, most of us, the vast majority are exposed, and then we're cleared. This virus is cleared by our immune system. But people who have HIV, people who are immunocompromised, people who have had transplants and are on special medications to kind of reduce the immune system, they are at higher risk for anal cancer. So what she was really battling and struggling to try to do is to ensure that everybody between the ages of 9 and 26 were vaccinated for HPV, and also to be on the bandwagon to try to have people older than 26 who might be at high risk groups to get vaccinated. That might be, their life might be improved and have prevention of these HPV related cancers. The other thing that she was a big proponent of is trying to push forward what's called the blood test to check circulating DNA from HPV virus to find people who might be at higher risk for anal cancer. The other thing is, and to her detriment, she was one of the people that were improperly diagnosed with anal cancer. She had bleeding, and she had some of the, I'm going to give you the top 10 list of symptoms. Bleeding, often misdiagnosed as hemorrhoids, itching, change in bowel movements, mucousy or pussy discharge, pain, a mass or lump in that perianal area, that skin around the anus, a lump within the anal canal itself, or lumps in the groin, or this feeling that you have to defecate but nothing comes out, and anemia. And she was really a big proponent of not having people, not seek medical care for these symptoms, and also to help practitioners not misdiagnose patients and just write it off as a hemorrhoid. Because when you get misdiagnosed, there's this stage migration where patients get diagnosed with higher stages of disease at the outset rather than lower stages of disease. So had Michelle, had this bleeding and had this itch, had her practitioner kind of dug a little deeper, metaphorically, and not just, presume that it was a hemorrhoid, she probably would still be with us. And she left us with 3 myths of anal cancer. So number one myth is that anal cancer is not colorectal cancer. There are different histologies, so the cells are different. So it's a squamous cell. It's a HPV virus-induced cancer. It's a non-surgical disease, so there's no colostomies or anything like that. It's a chemoradiation, disease, and the cure rates are very high. So greater than 80% cure rate for stage 1 and 2, 60% or so cure rate for stage 3, and again, the stage 4 cancer, which is supposed to be incurable, but we know that on occasion, God does grace us with these miracles, and of course, Joanne was one of them. The second myth is that it only happens to people that are sexually promiscuous. And that's not true at all, because 80% of all, as I said, sexually active people have had exposure to HPV and it has resolved. There's only a small percentage of patients who have a change on the cellular level from the HPV, which may take decades to present or transcend into a cancer. And number 3 is you don't have to have had anal sex to have anal cancer. And I think that's one of the things that people get so spooked about, is that when you tell someone you have anal cancer, they all think that you're this very promiscuous and sexually adventurous individual, when indeed that's not the case at all. It's just really from skin to skin contact during intimacy. And as I said, just some people have the bad luck that their immune systems just don't clear it. So, again, hats off on this podcast and from our organization to Michelle and her surviving family members. You have a lot to be proud of your wife, your mom, your family member, your friend. She really did a great job. And it allows us to do podcasts like this without actually feeling, uncomfortable or uneasy about it. It's just something we need to advocate for our survivors with this particular type of cancer. And just in Joanne's, just to kind of give her more kudos, it's a rough road of treatment when you have treatment to that area. I always tell survivors that the 2 worst possible areas to get cancer from a radiation perspective are the head and neck, such as the tongue and the tonsil, and the perineum or the perianal area, like the tissue between the rectum and the testicles, or the rectum and the vagina. Those are the 2 toughest. It takes greater than 1 year to recover, to get somewhat close to what you started with. And by the end of treatment, we actually bring our survivors far beyond despair. We bring them to the brink of their existence. They're physically, emotionally, socially, psychologically, and spiritually unrecognizable from the patient that we first meet at consultation. In Joanne's case, what made her case so unusual is that she started with bilateral groin nodes. So in our groin crease, there are lymph nodes, and she had cancerous lymph nodes on both sides. About 2 weeks into treatment, something happened that was so unusual that I was very perplexed. The right groin node, which was not only not diminishing, it actually was growing, and it was growing at a very rapid rate. And at first I thought that this was just an abscess, but it was too hard. I was in my heart, I did not think it was an infection. I was convinced that it was a cancer. So what we did was we stayed the course. We had to stay calm. This is the point where it is our responsibility to metaphorically carry our patients during this process to the finish line. And it reminds me of that little blurb that you get on these little cards, and it's called footprints. And it's when a person's walking through life, there's 2 footprints. There's you and then your creator. And then during hard times, there's only 1 set of footprints. And you say to your creator, where were you when I needed you? There's only my footprints. And he goes, no, that wasn't your footprints. That was me carrying you during those tough times. And we have to sort of be that. We have to help our patients and carry them through, not just through their side effects, but during situations where we're not sure exactly what's happening. We're staying the course and we're staying straight up what we're supposed to do. But when something pops its head up that even I haven't seen in over 35 years of practice, our patients look to us for strength and confidence. And that's when they reach that breaking point. That's our responsibility to carry them to the finish line. And I have to admit it that I never showed that I was worried, but I was very worried. I had never seen this before. So I called my friends in New York City to all the tertiary care centers, and they didn't have anything smart to say either. They just thought what I thought was that maybe when everything was all said and done, we would have to have a surgeon go in and take that lymph node out. How they were going to do that with this huge, second head down in her groin, I had no idea how that was going to happen, but that was the plan. And I examined her 3 times per week. Every time I took a picture, the mass just got bigger and bigger, and it got necrotic, or the cells were dying because it was outgrowing its blood supply, and it became ulcerated and painful. And we had to actually redo her plan 3 times because of the fact that the groin node was growing so quickly that the plan that I started with was irrelevant by the time that this thing kept on growing. So just to kind of give you an idea of the staggering growth rate and how worried we were about this woman, we thought we were going to lose her before we even finished treatment. And then the sigh of relief, right, Angel? I don't know the exact day that I would have called this Joanne's miracle. I actually think it was more like a 3-month miracle, not an immediate miracle. And kind of like the blooming of a rose takes time. You see the first little inklings of a bud, and then you see this glorious expression of this beautiful flower. I kind of felt that her miracle was like that. And it started with just like a feeling like, hey, I think it's smaller, but I can't be sure, to, hey, it's definitely smaller, to, hey, it's gone. And I waited for that PET scan, which was the last data point, and her local disease was gone, her nodal disease was gone, her metastatic disease was gone. And in over 35 years of practice, I can count the times that I shed tears on one hand in front of a patient, and that day was one of them. I was so overwhelmed with joy, with gratitude, with humility, and with awe. Angel, I was in awe of how our team stayed unified, calm, and strong. I was in awe of Joanne's courage and faith and her fortitude. I was in awe of how our Creator uses the caregivers as a vessel of healing. I was in awe of the power of the interconnectivity between a doctor and their patient. I was in awe of the limitless potential that hope brings. I was in awe of the purity of belief. And someone once told me that if I had heart, my heart would hold hope. And hope is the profound magical ingredient that creates miracles. And when Joanne saw my tears, it was then that she realized that her cure was a miracle. Angel, your thoughts?
Well, first and foremost, I'm always a big believer, and you know how I feel about true stories. And when you first, let me just give a quick side note. When you and I do these shows and these episodes, I don't know what you're going to talk about, right? You just send me usually a synopsis. You usually send me a title. Well, before I heard the story, I said to myself, well, when I hear the phrase, I believe in miracles, I am reminded that miracles aren't always the parting of the seas, as you put it in your synopsis, or moving mountains. Often they're quiet, they're intriguing, the stories, but everyday moments of hope, healing, and human connection is something that we overlook at times, right? So I wrote this down, preparing myself for this, and I said, from a spiritual perspective, a miracle is simply the unexplainable gift of grace. Whether it's diagnosed, overturned, the strength to get through one day more than another, maybe a day of courage found in the presence of loved ones. Believing in miracles means opening your eyes to the possibilities that go beyond our understanding. And it's not about religion or denomination. It's about recognizing that life itself offers us a glimpse of something greater, something that reminds us that hope is never wasted. So when I believe in miracles and I hear this story of Joanne, we really have to say that we believe in the power of hope, of resilience, and of the human spirit to overcome what once seemed impossible.
Angel, beautiful words. And, I think when I was away this past week on the beach sitting with Denise, we did a lot of talking about the podcast and what we were trying to create. And we came up with, two categories, making sure that our podcasts were reaching and helping our survivors in some way, whether it be through our 4 pillars, or whether it be through education or whatever, anything we can do to improve the quality of life in the survivor's journey through their survivorship, and also how to impact our caretakers. Our caregivers. And, when I do these podcasts on miracles, it doesn't fit exactly perfectly into any one category, but it sort of fits perfectly in all of the categories. So I guess the lesson today for our survivor thrivers out there is that for our survivor thrivers, I would say that miracles do happen, that do not look at the statistics because, everything is 50-50. You're either going to do great or you're not going to do great. And statistics don't apply. Don't lose hope. Don't lose faith. And to the caregivers, don't give up on your patients. Don't look at this. I mean, you need to know the statistics and you need to deliver this information to your patients, but the way you do it and the way you believe in your heart really will carry the day. And if you believe and stay the course and stay calm and carry your patients through the tough times when they can't do it themselves, those were the 2 purposes of this podcast, which I hope that we achieved. And I just want to let you all know out there, in those moments of doubt, in those moments of pain, in those moments of fear, in those moments of hopelessness, I want to let you know that there are people out there who want to help you get through these rough spots. Your doctors, your nurses, your family, your friends, the support groups out there like Citizens Reunited to Overcome Cancer and so many others are here for you guys. It is our honor to be here for you. And we just want to let you know that these miracles do happen. So in closing, I want to again leave you with the Croc blessing. And that's to wish every single one of you a long, healthy, happy, and cancer-free life. Believe in miracles. God bless you. God be with you. Peace.
Hey, Croc Nation. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the podcast to your friends. Visit our website, crocvip.com. We would love to hear your feedback.